What is going on, YouTube? PPS here. Pass the Prop NFL Week 1. It's going to be our breakdown show here. Just want to give you guys this update before we get into everything. This normally will be two separate shows, right? It's going to be more on Wednesday and Friday. That's how we usually do it. Unfortunately, Friday for me is a little messed up. I know your travel schedule up into Wednesday, plus the Travis Kelce news. All this stuff just combined into, okay, we got to make it work. Let's just do Thursday. And we ended up getting here for our Week 1 breakdown. Stu, how you doing? Back for NFL.
Yeah, no, I'm doing great. Obviously, just got back from Chicago. Shout out to all of our Chicago people on the chat, giving me recommendations and all that stuff. Very much appreciated it. Great town, great people. Go Cubs. I'm a fan now. You know what I'm saying? My Nats suck, so I got to switch sides before it's too late. But yeah, couldn't be more happy to be here, obviously. Start of NFL season is what we've been waiting for. You know, time's been ticking very slowly, but we're finally here. We've got a great Thursday night football matchup. I mean, this literally just feels like they picked the two. Like, what's going to give us the most chaos for Week 1? And they gave it to us. Then we got, a little Dolphins-Chargers over the weekend. That's more chaos right there. Plenty of great plays for today. I'm super excited to be here talking Thursday night football, answering your questions, and I'm ready to go, man.
Yeah, no, it's that time, you know, and I'm going to continue to do baseball. Obviously, got to keep it going. Obviously, during the week more often, you know, Saturday UFC, Sunday being NFL stuff. But yeah, it's that time though. You know, it's time to get back into it. We have a really good Thursday night game. I don't know if we've had a opening game of the season with a 54 total like this. Usually, it's pretty shitty. I'm not gonna lie. Usually, I don't remember the exact game last year. But it was, I think it was the Bills and someone, and it was just a complete blowout, and nobody even watched the second half. I think that was last year. So 4.5 point spread, and obviously a lot of drama coming along with it before the game even starts.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is one that was 6.5. It was looking like it was going to get to 7. And then suddenly Travis Kelce injury news comes in and the whole world is kind of adjusting. Now we see that line pretty comfortably at 4.5 on most sports books with really no updated information. We're seeing some people say Kelce's going to go. Everyone's quoting his brother. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that necessarily. I know Travis Kelce's a tough guy. I know he's the kind of guy that would play through injury, but it's very interesting. It kind of adds an extra element to this game, right? It's not as straightforward as it was before. So super excited to watch it play out. Hoping we get a good game tonight.
Yeah, and of course, you guys know we're going to bring back our touchdown parlay today. So what this show is going to be, at least for today, in this impromptu, Wednesday's usually going to be, you know, first look, Thursday props and stuff like that. That's going to be the first half of today's show. Second half, we're going to each have one play for Sunday as well. So yeah, like I said, this is usually two separate shows, but we're going to get it all smashed into one for Week 1 here. Stu, I guess let's just kind of break down this game first, and then we'll get into the props for this game. A lot of new faces across the board here. A lot of guys that are really unproven, right? The guys that I like, obviously, I'm leaning more towards the KC side. I'm a huge Kadarius Toney fan from New York. I thought he really got kind of screwed over there, you know? So now he's over here playing in, you know, a scheme that pretty much anybody can play in, especially a guy like that. You got Sky Moore, who really didn't play a ton last year, getting that full rep now. Obviously, he was a beast at Western Michigan there. So I think we're going to start seeing some new faces over there. And then obviously we look over on the Detroit side, Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously the talk of the town, David Montgomery, new guy over there. Kind of talk about it a little bit, man. We got a lot of new faces, a lot of new things thrown together and all coming together on the first night of the season.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think this is a game where we're going to get a lot of offense. I'm personally not a guy that's going to be betting over 53 or 54 at this point. I do think that's a pretty fair number, and I don't know about you, but that's not a number I get to very often, no matter who's playing, right? Really, no matter what, especially with the questionable Travis Kelce. For me, like you mentioned, those Kansas City wide receivers, that's going to be a big deal. How did these guys function out there today with or without Kelce, a distraction, right? You're asking a guy like Sky Moore to step up. I mean, if you just take a look at this wide receiver room and you put it on any other team, they're in contention for the worst wide receiver room in the league, right? Not that there's not wide receiver, young, unproven talent that can't, take a step up this year, but none of these guys, frankly, have proven anything except Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which has proven exactly what he is, which is like a deep ball long shot that like drops the ball half the time it goes down there. So for me, I'm very curious to see how this Kansas City offense functions. Bieniemy's gone, right? He went over to Washington to take that OC job. How did they adapt? How did they change their style? Do we see a little bit more run-heavy game plan because there's no Kelsey? Is Pacheco going to be more involved than people think? For me, I'm starting to think, especially the first half of this game, might be a little bit slower than people think. I think everyone in the world wants to see Patrick Mahomes throw it 80 yards down the field right out the gate. I personally think David Montgomery and Isaiah Pacheco are two guys we're going to see a lot of in the first half. Both teams trying to control pace and get out to a good start.
Yeah, no, and I'm looking at the odds here kind of on some of these, team prop portions, right? We got the Chiefs at over 3.5 touchdowns at even odds. We have minus 160 for the Lions to score 3. So, I mean, they're expecting offense galore here, not really a blowout either way. And I think that's kind of how we're both approaching our props here for today. So we can go into our props here. We can kind of get it rolling there. Obviously, the Kelsey news can make a huge difference on both of our plays, right? So right now he's out on the prop market, so people are expecting him to be there, maybe not in his full role, but just obviously keep that in mind. That's obviously going to be a pretty big piece of news. We got to get that soon, right?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I just kind of said it a little bit earlier, but I'm not going to be playing any Kelsey, really no DFS, whether he suits up or not. For me, I think if he is out there, it's in a little bit of a decoy capacity, right? We know, like I said, Travis Kelce is an extremely tough guy. We know he's going to want to be out there. And at the end of the day, from everything we're reading, it's an inflammation issue, which means at the end of the day, it's just, are you willing to play through this pain? And for me, looking at the Chiefs, this is a Super Bowl contender, right? Why would we want to force your star tight end out there immediately week 1 in full capacity to risk re-injury? I know it's week 1. I know you want to put on a show for everyone, right? But for me, I have a very, very hard time believing Kelsey's going to be out there in a major way, if he even suits up at all. So for me, that's the framework I'm working everything off of, right? If he is out there, it's not going to be in the same high volume Travis Kelce role. It's going to be more of, hey, look, it's Travis Kelce. Now a safety has to come up and I can throw it 40 yards down the field to somebody else.
Yeah, luckily, best ball picks when I drafted them, I always grab Mahomes and Kelsey in the same, and then through a third guy, usually that Tony or Pacheco guy I was grabbing in that same type of lineup. So luckily, we got a little bit more exposure than I only have him in like 10%, which because obviously he's a first-round tight end, man. It's tough to get to. So let's kick it over to you, Stu. I really like this prop market. I know you're the one who kind of introduced me into this one, so I really like that you're going here.
Yep, we're going with our second prop for Thursday Night Football so far. Already got that Josh Reynolds one out on Twitter already. Now we're going Patrick Mahomes over 38.5 longest completion. When I wrote down my numbers like I do every week, I try to guess what I think the number is going to be. I wrote down 38.5 as my exact guess. I figured that's a 1-unit play if I get that. Anything less would be a little bit more. The books were kind of on top of it right here. This is a fair number. I wouldn't say we're getting any extreme value right here. When you look at last season, right, just off the bat, he had a 38-yard completion or more in 13 games. So 13 of 17 is obviously a great hit rate off the bat. We love to see that. But more than that, what I like in this is the matchup against the Lions. When we look at this Lions secondary, what did they do last year? They played a lot of man coverage. They played the 4th most man coverage in the league. But when you dive into the stats a little bit more, they were 23rd in EPA per play on those man coverage snaps. So they were playing it at an extremely high rate. They just weren't producing at an extremely high rate, which is obviously what we love to see for this. Now you're thinking, hey, they added more to their cornerback room. They added, some new guys. They obviously used free agency with Sutton. They grabbed the guy from the 49ers who's going to miss this game in week 1. But for me, that's actually great news. I love to hear that because what I see in that is I see that they're doubling down on their defensive philosophy. What we're attacking right here is man coverage. I want to avoid Patrick Mahomes getting as many too high shallow looks as he's going to get because he's going to see more than almost any other quarterback in the league. And that's how the modern day NFL is adapting to these outstanding quarterbacks is they're pulling the safeties back, they're letting them sit, and they're letting them make those reads. Not the Lions, though. The Lions are kind of doubling down on this defensive philosophy. If we want to get after the quarterback, we're going to trust our guys out on the outside in man coverage and one-on-one. And at the end of the day, I think that's a solid strategy, but I think that's one we can exploit, especially with a quarterback as talented as Patrick Mahomes. So when you look at the actual guys out there on the field, we know Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a field stretcher, right? We know he has the ability to get this play done. He's obviously going to be one of the guys. I think Justin Watson is another guy to look at. He's mostly running vertical routes his whole career. I'm not saying this is a guy that I'm super impressed by, but he's going to get those one-on-one opportunities down the field. And this is a bet on Mahomes more than any of the receivers at the end of the day. I just got off a show about an hour ago where we were talking DFS all day. And my co-host actually brought up the phrase, why buy the icing when you can buy the cake? And I think that's a perfect way to say it right here. Is why am I going to sit around and try to guess? Is it going to be Kadarius Toney? Is it going to be Sky Moore with a little bit of a breakout? Marquez Valdez-Scantling? I just want to trust my quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, right here, the best quarterback in the NFL, to get the job done. And like I said before, if Kelsey is out there, if he is suited up, I think that's going to be really good. I think we're going to get those over the middle opportunities, right, where those safeties have to come up, and that's really where we get those bombs. Additionally, I mentioned earlier, I think we lean heavy on the run game to start out as well, a little bit more than people are expecting at least. And I think with that, that's another one of those situations where the defensive coordinator, you have to adjust. You have to bring those safeties into the box if you're not successfully thwarting the run, right? And I think that's just more opportunities for Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he's going to have multiple, but we need one completion to hit this prop, right? And we know how much talent there is. We know a guy like Toney, who I'm also a big fan of. We know he can't stay on the field, but he's a yak guy. If we just get the ball in his hands in space, he can make plays. Same with Sky Moore. You got to get the ball in space. So it's a bet on Patrick Mahomes. It's a bet on week one. I like this Lions defensive coverage. I really think they're doubling down on that man on the outside. And that's what I'm attacking right here. It's not that I trust MVS to burn anyone. It's that I trust Patrick Mahomes to hit one of these wide receivers in man coverage one-on-one. And I think that's a pretty good bet.
Yeah, no, and I'm not even going to go into it too deep because I'm going to actually be throwing mine out there too. And I think the exact same thing, right? It's like, could I guess on which one of these dudes is about to pop, right? I mean, you could. You got 5 options, right? Obviously, you're going to probably lean more towards Toney or more just because of, the hype that they've been getting. But I want to roll with Mahomes. Like, that's the guy I want to roll with. 250 yards for a Mahomes offense is pretty wild, right, to even get him at that. One thing I do want to do here, I'm going to actually pull up my screen just because this is an interesting one, how to get to this one. So I'm on DraftKings here. You got to make sure you go to the same game parlay portion because if you just try to do the alternate ones, it's not going to get you this line, right? So you got to make sure you click the same game parlay one and then go through it to get it to this minus 105 option, 250 and 60 there. Obviously, it's a little bit different just to kind of play around with that and get it to that portion versus, going to the bottom and getting to the alternate lines. But going to Amon-Ra, 8 out of the last 9 games of the season, he hit this number. This dude is just so consistent for 6 catches. But I also kind of like having Goff in this bigger type of game. I actually think he's going to do pretty well tonight. I think he's going to chuck that ball around the yard. I think that Chris Jones not playing is probably the biggest thing of the entire game. I think even bigger than Kelsey, to be honest, because Mahomes is that damn good. Right? They don't have a guy like that on the defense outside of Chris Jones. Chris Jones is that good. He is pretty much the way this whole defense works, right? And he's the only guy like that. So I think that the Lions are going to pretty much be able to do what they want to do. Obviously, I think that, you're going to see the little bit of the shiny new toy in Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe bringing him out in the slot and stuff as well. But, Amon-Ra's getting that double-digit targets. You know it's coming out to him. I mean, it's like death taxes, and he's catching 6 balls, right? That's literally what's going to happen here. And I love his yards after the catch. I think he's going to be phenomenal here in this spot. And who doesn't want to be there in the first game of the season? It's not like this is his first game of his career with Jared Goff. He's had a full year under it, working with him. I think he's going to show out again and have a huge fantasy season. I know a lot of people think that as well. But obviously, Mahomes 250, sitting at I think it was minus 255. I think that's criminal, man. You're seeing this guy at 300 every game. You're getting them at home in that environment. And yes, do I think that they're going to start out running a little bit more? Probably. I think they're going to try and establish that early. But man, Mahomes 250 passing yards, just like you see that, it's like, holy shit, I got to lock that one in. Like, it's just like, damn, this guy could throw. They could have 6 different receivers with like 40 yards. One of them goes for a bomb, and boom, you're already there. And it's like, wow, this guy had a quiet 280. And it's just like, yeah, he goes under his other props, but this is just a spot I really like.
No, this is one of those situations where you look at this combination and you go, how am I getting this close to even money, right? I mean, like you said, I mean, these are two like very easy building blocks. I think if anything, Amon-Ra 60 would technically be, I guess, the harder leg. I'm guessing maybe based on
technically, yeah. I think it's like, let me pull it up here. Exactly on its own. Yeah, keep going. I'll get the number.
No, yeah, I was going to say, but it's one of those situations where, like you said, he had 9 targets or more in 13 games last year, right? I mean, that is absolutely insane consistency. And we talk about target competition all the time. Sam Laporta, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Jones. That's your target competition in a game with a 43-point total. Like, come on. This is an easy number. Not even 53. To, oh, yeah. There you go. 53. Not even to mention, too, I mean, if you want to look a little bit deeper, right? Spags is known for bringing that pressure off the edge. No Chris Jones. You need to ramp up the pressure. Who's the low A-dot target on this team? It's Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's the clear over the middle, short, intermediate target. Rack up those receptions. I love this combination. Definitely going to be tailing.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up. Spagnuolo on those blitzes. Those impromptu plays, man, he's looking for one dude. It was Hawkinson last year getting on those underneath routes.
Yep.
But you know where he's going now, dude. It's literally Amon-Ra. That is the guy he's looking for. It's the same thing, and that's the reason why, Rodgers with Devontae, right? You just see him run out of the pocket, and you know where he is going to be at that certain spot. I think they're starting to get to that realm there because they're running so many different routes individually for Amon-Ra to get open. So I really like this spot. And before we get to our touchdowns for this spot, let's take a look at the chat. We got 40 of you guys in here. Appreciate all you guys popping in here. I know we're out of baseball now. We're going into football. We got Steve in here. We got Plus Money Bob. Hey, I tried. We got to minus 105. I was pretty close. Don't worry. We got our Plus Money touchdown spots coming up here soon. We got Brian in here. Appreciate you for popping in and joining us at this impromptu Thursday spot. Luke, I think this is a fantastic spot. I don't know why they would give you that free money. I'm going to guess they're probably giving you only like $50 as a max that you're able to bet on it. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I wonder what the EV on that is for what it actually should be to what you're getting there. Obviously, a great look. So I'll kick this over to you. We got a question here from Drew. Are you even going to think about Mahomes in terms of rushing? I don't think I want to go there as much because I think it's going to be more of a pocket, trying to stay in the pocket there. But he's good at those impromptu plays. You have no Kelsey to throw it to on those impromptu plays. Maybe it is a spot to look.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because to me, if I got that opening line at 12.5, then I'm feeling good, right? Then I'm feeling great. But we've now seen the market kind of adjust. It's 17 to 18 in most spots, which on a guy that's not getting designed runs, right? He is not a quarterback that gets designed runs. You're fully depending on scrambles. And those 6 to 7 yards are an extra scramble or two for a quarterback, which does make it a little bit tougher for me. So I like the look. But now that the number is kind of fair, I don't think I'm like running to the window. But hey, the Lions gave up some incredible rushing production. Like I said, that man coverage is normally what you want to look for those rushing quarterbacks, right? Because they're not looking forward, right? They're focused on their one-on-one assignments back there. And that led to some crazy numbers from rushing quarterbacks. So I do understand if you bet it. For me, I'm just kind of sad I missed the good number on it.
Yeah, and I think you might see a little bit more of those, maybe designed like McKinnon passes, on those ones where you kind of get those, those underneath ones that we can start seeing a little bit more of those short ones. Because I bring this up a lot, right? What is the ideal situation, right? I bet you the ideal situation for Andy Reid is for him never to run the ball ever. It would be, hey, find somebody open and get the ball out of your hand. I don't want to see you get hit, right? So, again, obviously it's different when you're thinking Hurts, thinking Fields, guys that rely on that. Patrick Mahomes is so damn good. He doesn't need to, right? So like that's something that I like to think about when I'm especially betting like rushing and receiving. If I'm betting rushing and passing yards on quarterbacks, just something I think about before I do click the submit button on it. So just something that I think about there that might help you guys down the road. All right, we got New Amsterdam. We trust. Hopefully you're doing well, my guy. We got Aaron in here as well. Sports with Flow. Glad to have you guys back for NFL. Yeah, we're back, ready to be back, man. It's been a grind and a grind MLB season. Even though, quick little side note here, Adam Wainwright is traveling to Atlanta tonight, guys. He is in Atlanta tonight against the Braves. 6.5 run total for the Braves in a non-Coors game, bro. Like, just had to say that. I had to. It's just obligatory. because when you see Adam Wainwright against anybody, you want to fade him. When you see him against the Braves, sign me up, baby. Let's get to our touchdown spots. We got plus money Bob here, so we got to make sure we get him that plus money spot. Both of us going on plus money. Stu, take it away, my man.
Yeah, I'm starting out with David Montgomery, who you can get we did this over on FanDuel. He's plus 125 for his part over there. And to be honest, Montgomery's one of those guys I expected to start out minus. I expected minus 105, minus 110 is one of those numbers. And if you watch the future show before the season started, you already know I got some exposure to him to score 6 and 7 touchdowns so far this year on the season. I love that he's stepping into that Jamal Williams role that obviously yielded 16 rushing touchdowns last season, an insane mark, right? We know a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be very good in the receiving game. The sports books clearly agree with him being at 32 receiving yards in his NFL debut. But when we get down to the red zone, I think it's pretty clear what the responsibility is, right? I mean, I love Gibbs, but even at Alabama, it's not like he was ever the between the tackles bruiser. He's more of a change of pace guy, using that speed on the outside right here. David Montgomery's now working with the best offensive line he's ever played with by far, right? We're going from legitimately bottom 5 to top 5 offensive line right here. And we know there's going to be scoring opportunities in this game. So at the end of the day, once we get down to that red zone, I'm like I said, I'm really not super worried about the target competition. Like, there's no dominant red zone weapons in this team. I think it's going to be spread out to a lot of different guys. And I think Montgomery is going to be a big beneficiary of that.
I love it. And Sky Moore, obviously, a little bit, you don't really know what you got yet, right? You're kind of in that spot. But looking at his numbers from Western Michigan, man, this dude is a great route runner. Obviously, not the biggest guy out there, but still, being able to score 10 touchdowns, double-digit touchdowns in college in your last season and 12 games, over 1,000 yards receiving in those games. And remember, he's got 12 games. He had 95 catches in those games for Western Michigan. This was the go-to guy. Didn't matter where he was on the field. Was able to get separation in those small pockets. I think he's going to be able to do that tonight. And obviously, in a matchup with the Lions, I always like to go to the Lions games because they want these shootouts, right? So being able to score inside the 10-yard line, I think he'll be able to do that, especially if Kelsey's out. But also, I think he can still beat a guy deep too. So, I mean, he's got the yards after the catch opportunities. I think he has the ability to score from, 20, 30, or 10 yards out. So those are the types of guys I want to back, especially at almost a 2-to-1 price tag. I think you could definitely do worse.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's a tough ask to kind of predict whoever, even last year, right? When we look at these touchdown scores for the Chiefs, they really did mix it up a lot. They have a very dynamic red zone offense, but it's a total play, right? We know there's going to be offense in here. Travis Kelce, arguably the best red zone weapon, maybe even in the whole NFL, probably either going to be playing at like 30% capacity or not in there. That's going to open up a lot of opportunities for other guys. And I mean, Noah Gray, the backup, is down to plus 195 to score a touchdown. So when you ask me if I'd rather play a backup tight end or a guy like Sky Moore, who, like you said, we know he can score from outside the red zone. We know he kind of has that gadget ability inside the red zone, different ways to score right here. I think it's an easy choice. I think Moore should probably be in that probably plus 165, plus 170 range like MVS is, as opposed to some of these other guys.
Yeah, no, I just think the value is definitely there on this spot here. So let's just do a quick recap. We'll recap what we have for this one, and then we're going to take a quick left turn. We're turning over to Sunday and getting it over there. So I'll start it out here. Mahomes 250 plus Amon-Ra 60 yards receiving. That is over on DraftKings. Same game parlay feature. Stu, take it away.
Yep, we're going Patrick Mahomes over 38.5, longest completion minus 110 over on BetMGM.
And then we just talked about the plus 516 parlay on FanDuel. David Montgomery, Sky Moore, touchdown parlays for tonight. Obviously, want to see how we do on these again this year. Obviously, we've done some pretty good jobs on those throughout the season last year. Hopefully, it continues here. But it's time to take that left turn. Usually, this is where our show stops, right? This is where our Wednesday show stops. And Friday, we kind of talk about the whole entire slate there. But, travel, I got to go to a wedding this weekend. Can't miss out on that. You know how it is. Life gets in the way a little bit. But you guys know we're going to find a way to make things happen for you guys. Make sure you guys get the plays that we have for the weekend. There is not – the reason why we do Fridays is because there's not all the props out yet today. So we will have plays in these games. But remember, there's going to be other spots that we're going to like throughout. So make sure you follow us over on Twitter. Where we can post some stuff there. But so what game are you looking forward to watching the most? And we can skip over the Washington game.
Yeah, I think I hinted at it a little bit earlier. For me, it's kind of clearly the Chargers-Dolphins game. To me, that obviously Tua and Herbert are always going to be linked to each other because of their draft position, right? And even their abilities post-draft. If one of them was a bust, that wouldn't be the case. But we've seen great things from both of these quarterbacks. The Chargers defense still has to answer a lot of questions, right? They were the worst rush defense in the league last year, but it'll be interesting to see how a team that's only carrying Raheem Mostert can take advantage of that, because I'm not so sure they can, right? I see 55 rush yards automatically. It's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, Chargers defense, but putting your hard-earned money now behind Raheem Mostert to carry the ball like 15 times is really tough if you've watched this guy get injured, season in, season out. So I think that game has a lot of different question marks. I think we're going to learn a lot about both teams. I'm very curious how teams defend Tua, because at the end of last year, we saw Tua, if you could take away the middle of the field and you made him work on the outside, that's where he really struggled. But if you let him work over the middle, he was legitimately a generational player in terms of the advanced numbers, putting up some numbers we've truly never seen. You got to give a lot of credit to McDaniel. I have a lot of trust in him. Great play schemer, great play caller. But I don't know who's going to win this. I think the Chargers do. I'm a fan of the Chargers. I have a Super Bowl ticket on them. I have a Herbert MVP ticket. I think we get a lot of good information out of this first game.
Yeah, and I mean, you brought up a lot of great points, but the one I really wanted to think about in this game, because obviously this is the number one spot. I'm going to talk about a different one just because I, kind of have to. Don't want to double up on it, but I want to see what the Chargers do with Quentin Johnson. I want to see how he gets into this offense. Are they going to run Mike Williams on the outside and him on the outside? How do you stop that? Both those dudes are elite at catching those jump ball, 50-50 balls. Both of them are fantastic. You still got Keenan Allen across the middle. Still got Gerald Everett. I saw Quentin Johnson is behind Joshua Palmer on the depth chart there, so that kind of scares me a little bit. But, dude, Herbert's going to have some fun, man. Not even to mention the best, probably the best, if not second best, maybe you want to say McCaffrey, but you got Eckler out of the backfield. My God, dude, just a plethora of weapons here. I tried to get Herbert in best ball as many times as I could, but it was tough because you want to stack them with some guys. And those other guys are going so high, they're too close to him. It's just tough. So we don't have to get to too much best ball stuff. But the game I want to watch is Nick Chubb, baby. Let's go, Nick Chubb. We got Cincinnati and Cleveland, a divisional matchup right away. Great total. And spread here, 48.5 point total in a game like this. This is a game that you think is smash mouth football. This game looks like it's going up and down the field at 48.5. Sign me up for a full unleashed 3-down running back, Nick Chubb. My God, dude, sign me up for freaking MVP. Sign me up for leading the league in rushing. You already know I got my biggest bet in the future market on Nick Chubb. Tried to grab him into every single best ball, only managed at 34%. I'm still 66% short. I wanted him in every single one of them. I love Nick Chubb. I want to see what he can do. I want to see Deshaun Watson. Can he kind of get that rust off? Can we start to see Amari Cooper look like he did in Dallas? You got Elijah Moore there, who I think nobody's talking about. I actually kind of like him. You still got Njoku across the middle. I think this is going to be a decent offense, and I think their defense is going to be decent as well. But sign me up for Joey B chucking that ball down the field, baby. I have Joe Burrow in 2 of my 3 year-long fantasies. So you can just tell I'm a little bit invested in my boy Joey B and a little bit invested in Nick Chubb. So best of both worlds. Hopefully it's a shootout.
Yeah, we're going to learn a lot in this game, too. I mean, I've kind of been on record this week on Tuesday, then on my DFS spot before this. I've been on record now saying I'm completely out on Deshaun Watson. I'll give you the short that obviously I was a huge fan. He's my favorite player. I've watched every snap of his career, and I truly need to see something before I bet on him, because last year you can say rush, sure, but he still didn't look better at the end of the year. And when you compare his advanced stats, they looked a lot closer to Zach Wilson than they did an all-star, which is very bad. Obviously, okay, he's going to come in and dominate preseason. That didn't happen. We're not reading any positive camp reports about Deshaun Watson. I think the whole world is just kind of assuming that he's just going to go back to what he was before, which is fair because he truly was a top 5 quarterback before this all happened. So I understand that. For me, I'm just going to make him prove it to me first, because right now I'm just not seeing the same player out there. But if Watson is good, then this team's real scary, honestly.
Yeah, and I think my biggest thing too is this offensive line is nice. It is nice. Oh, yeah. Very nice. Obviously phenomenal. Probably might be the best run blocking. You can fight with the Philadelphia Eagles as well. I think they're both right up there, 1 and 2. But let's see a little bit. I want to see Deshaun Watson get into more impromptu plays. I want to get him like what he looked like in Houston, right? Where he's rolling out of the pocket. If he doesn't have them, he tucks it. That's the type of offense that I think that we could see from this Cleveland side, and hopefully we see a little bit more of those pass catching down opportunities going to my boy Nick Chubb here. One thing I just want to put out before we get into our props here and our dogs, obviously got to bet some dogs on week one. But remember, we're going off of last year's numbers for these spots, right? So we're learning with you guys too, right? Because there's a lot of new faces, a lot of new spots. All this stuff is coming in. We're just speculating what we're hearing from, obviously, beat writers, all this stuff. Once we get 1 or 2 games of data, it's the same thing about the first month of baseball, right? I'll give you last year's data, right? That's kind of what we're going off of. So don't think we have a full lockup on all these things here, because we're reading the same things that you guys are, obviously going off of advanced metrics that we've seen that worked in the past. But just a heads up, because I know everybody's like, oh, we use this. It should just be a lock on this, right? It's still week one. There's still a lot of new faces. I mean, you got a rookie running back in the top 8 of fantasy drafts and Bijan Robinson. That's like crazy. I want to put that out there before we start getting into everything here on my end, because I had to get that out before we start rolling here.
No, that's fair. I mean, when it's week one, at the end of the day, you don't have to bet every spot on the board. I know you're tempted to. And for me, when I get those temptations, right, if I'm liking Calvin Ridley, right, let's say Calvin Ridley, he's a popular guy. I don't necessarily love him as much as the rest of the world does in week one, at least, right? Because once again, with Deshaun Watson, let's prove it first, right? We've never seen guys miss years and come back to that same level of production immediately. But for me, I want to just sit back and watch. But let's say you like Calvin Ridley, you expect him to have a great game, you love the Jaguars offense. For me, week one, instead of playing him at 66 yards for $100, why not play him at 100 yards and another guy you love, a Jamar Chase, let's say at 100 yards, toss $5 on it. You still get a little bit of action on your lean without having to expose yourself too much. That's what I try to do, because it's week one. And let's be honest, we all want to bet. We've been waiting for this. We're fired up. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to be as responsible as possible, because nobody's going to listen to me. But if you have those temptations and you don't want to have 400 bets, there are clever ways you can still get action on those guys.
Beautifully said. Stu, we got dog picks here. MLB, we heated up at the end in dog picks. Who is the dog that's catching your eye today? Obviously looking forward to Sunday.
Yeah, this is interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of good angles out there on the board. I don't know. I might start out incredibly unpopular, just to give us a good start right here. I don't mind your Packers. I won't go into that yet, though. I don't mind your Packers right there, but that's not much of a dog. I'll go with a very, very unpopular play. I'll say the Raiders are a team I'm looking at. I think a lot of teams are coming in. Same deal with that we were just talking about, where they're expecting Russell Wilson, Sean Payton. Let's instantly turn things around. Unfortunately for the Broncos, right, they lost their top 3 wide receivers in training camp. That's bad, right? Jerry Jeudy is questionable for this game with a hamstring. I imagine if he does go out there, he's probably not going to be at 100%. I saw most early reports were expecting he might miss a couple weeks. So if he's out there, that would definitely be an interesting choice. And I'm not sure he'd be 100%. Cortland Sutton on the outside is obviously going to be their only other kind of scary target. Mims is a rookie, but that is asking a lot right there. For me, the Raiders, the only thing that's scaring me is this whole shit show with Chandler Jones. It's like, what is your organization just awful? It might just be awful, right? That's the case. But at the end of the day, Jimmy Garoppolo is a guy that I think's been slept on kind of his whole career. I mean, he's not an amazing quarterback. He's a system quarterback. But if you can put him around some solid skill position players and they get the job done, I think that's very possible. And I know Josh Jacobs hasn't got that offseason hype because he was holding out. But are we forgetting Josh Jacobs was the best running back in the league, right? Are we forgetting that last season? He was absolutely amazing. Then we got Devontae Adams on the outside. We got Hunter Renfrow, who's finally healthy. We got Michael Mayer, a very high tight end pick there as well that I have in a lot of best ball teams as well. I think it'll be interesting to see how this Raiders team plays out. I don't know if they win this game, but are you really trusting the Broncos to cover by more than a field goal after last season? After what we watched last year, right? Are we really expecting them to cover by more than a field goal? If the answer is yes, I got respect for you. I'm not willing to be there yet. I got to let Russ cook first. He took last season off. Maybe he's back to being a chef now. But for me, I'm liking a very unpopular dog in the Raiders this week.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to be on an unpopular dog as well. I think I like the Steelers a little bit here at home.
That's not unpopular. That's
I like
popular.
them at home. Dude, I would bet my Packers immediately but they're not even plus. They're not enough plus money.
Fair.
I'm not going here to take the Titans. I'm not trusting the Titans.
Yeah.
You want me to keep going down this list? I can take the Browns at plus 115. Like all these ones are close, right? And I think the dogs are starting to get more love on a lot of these. I almost wanted to take the Panthers, but then I'm like, oh, it's still it's like Falcons, Panthers. Like there's a lot of these ones, but there are a lot of divisional ones, which I usually do like the dogs. But I kind of like the Steelers this week. I kind of like this spot. Obviously, got Bosa coming back, which I'm going to probably wait to bet this because I'm hoping more steam comes in on the 49ers so I can get this at plus 115. I have not bet this. Usually when I bet the dogs, especially ones that I don't think are going to get that late steam, I usually wait till Sunday right before. But I really like the Steelers here, 2.5 to 2 points that you're usually getting here. I like the weapons they have. I want to see what we're going to get out of Purdy, right? I don't know. I would take Pickett right now with his weapons right now. Obviously, tougher matchup, but I think that they're going to get some pressure on Purdy there. Obviously, got Watt there, who's probably top 3 defensive player as well. Gets a ton of pressure, great pressure rate, and I don't know. I think this is going to be a tough spot for McCaffrey as well, running the ball. So I think they can make it into a grimy game. 41-point total in Pittsburgh, right? Opening day, Tomlin's going to get them ready. So I think that this is a spot I definitely like. And also, one I wanted to get your take on. This Eagles game, why is it only 4-point spread? What the fuck?
I wish I had the answer to that question, man. I feel like Eagles -4 is the most obvious bet in the world. I mean, I think if you truly asked an audience of like 100 people to just blindly guess their number for that game, they'd say 6.5 at the minimum, probably 7 or 7.5, a full touchdown. So instead of a full touchdown, we're now getting that at 4 points. Woo! I mean, I know the Patriots are at home, but man, that is so impossible. It's so bad that I don't want to bet the Eagles. Like I'm scared of that number.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. I was hoping you were going to say the same thing because I looked at that line. I'm like, are any of us like? I was thinking I wanted to bet the Patriots because the line was so fishy. I can't do that in week 1. I will not do that week 1. But those are what the lines I look like that I'm looking for in MLB, bro. Because it's just like, why? Why is this there? And this is that exact game. 4 points? How? Like where are we getting points, Patriots? Defense, special teams? That's it. I think they outscore their offense this week because that's literally the only chance I think they score.
Yeah, I was thinking the under might be a good spot right here. I was kind of thinking the same way of like maybe it's just one of those situations where the Eagles drop 24 and we get like 13 from the Patriots in response or something like that. But yeah, I really don't understand. I like the Patriots defense too. I mean, I'm kind of a fan of Judon. Obviously, I like White. I think White should have been a back-end first-round pick, and I was kind of begging my team to trade up for him. Great in the trenches right there. You had a really underrated guy in Uche, who's a speed rusher, someone I would love to bet on this year if they could give me any numbers. I think they're going to get pressure on quarterbacks. The problem, the Eagles they have the best offensive line in the league and a mobile quarterback that can evade all of that. So I don't quite understand this line. I think clearly Vegas knows what they're doing. It could just be an incredibly low scoring, kind of quicker pace game. And I'm not even as high on the Eagles this year. I think we're bound to see some regression. Are they really going to dominate every single first half like they did last year? I don't know about that. So it'll be interesting to see, but I don't understand this number at all. And I'm surely not running to the window to bet the Patriots in week 1.
That's all I'm saying. It's just like a game I will not watch for DFS purposes. Hope it stays very quiet. Just 3 and outs, really don't have much exposure to many Eagles in best ball. The running backs are almost unplayable at this point because you have 5 of them. So it's just like, and then you don't have any touchdown equity because that goes all the ways to Jalen Hurts. So it's just like, it's +4. Jesus, dude. And I looked at him like, I can't even like think about betting this game. Like there's nothing I could possibly pick. Couldn't even bet an under over. But I think you called it. Under would be the one of those 4 options that would make me feel like there's less puke in my throat,
Exactly. Well said.
We got Raiders versus Broncos. Classic stay away for me and watch. Yeah, I think the watching portion is just to see these receivers, right? To see what happens here with Judy. Hopefully he does play. If he doesn't, give him some rest on that hammy. I do have exposure to Judy because I do think he obviously will be a beast this year. Hopefully getting a little bit better passes from Russ. But he obviously has a great ADOT and phenomenal after the catch. Yeah, plus, yeah, stay away and watch, man. Just stay away. Don't even watch. Hopefully you don't live close to there, and Fox isn't mean to you if you don't got red zone and they give you a better game than that. Because luckily it's the 325 game, and they got tons of good games on at that point. But if you get thrown into the Seattle Rams game or you get thrown into this game, sorry, bro. Like, that's tough for that Raiders Broncos there. Because I'm like, you got the Chargers, man. Throw that Chargers game on.
Yeah, if you got those media blackouts, you're just gonna have to get those illegal streaming services up. I'll send you some links. I'll help you out. I don't want any of you or your friends to be stuck watching that game. Okay.
Yeah, dude, that Chargers game should be so awesome to watch. Obviously, late game hammer for that late slate there. But Stu, I think we're to that point. I think we're back for some props. This is what the people came for. We still got 40 plus of you guys in here. Hit that like button while you're here as well. We're coming at you with our 2 props for Sunday here.
Yep, I'm going Brian Robinson over 56.5 rush yards, minus 115. I got this in. It did move to 57, so let's track 57 for the show. But honestly, or what do you say?
57.5?
Yep, at minus 115 right there. It did move, but that's okay. That's 1 point. And to be honest, when I wrote up my numbers for the week, I had this anywhere from 63 to 64 rush yards. So the fact that we're obviously getting good value right here, for me at least, is very good. This is likely to be Brian Robinson's best game script of the season, right? When we look at last year, he was over this number in all but 4 games. And you're thinking, for real? He was over this number in all but 4 games? Yeah, that's because he averaged 17 carries a game in a season where he was coming back from getting shot, right? And as we look at the season, you'll notice, you see weeks 1 through 4, okay, we're about 3.5 yards per carry. Then we get a little bit deeper into the season, about 3.8. Then suddenly, towards the end of the season, we're up at the 4 yards per carry mark. And that's behind a very, very bad offensive line. Initial camp reports say it should be a little bit better than last season. Not saying this is a great offensive line, but the beautiful part about this bet is we're going up against the worst defensive line in football, right? And this is a team that was absolutely awful last year in terms of talent, right? Any metric you look at, this is a bottom 5 defense last year. They lost J.J. Watt, they lost Marcus Golden, and they lost Zach Allen. This is legitimately a group of random, like sub-level NFL starters on their defensive line. So at the end of the day, Washington's offensive line doesn't have to be great because this is truly the best matchup they're going to have all season. Now, obviously, when you bet a starting running back right here, what you're hoping for is opportunity. We saw clearly Ron Rivera averaging 17 carries per game last season. There's going to be that opportunity. You can say, yeah, Bieniemy's going to come in. They're going to pass more. I'm not sure why everyone in the world is suddenly thinking Washington's going to suddenly be a pass-heavy offense with Sam Howell at quarterback, likely Terry McLaurin either missing game 1 or going to be playing in a reduced capacity with turf toe. We see this every single year, guys. Turf toe happens. People rush back from it. The guy is not as good in those weeks. I'd rather just Terry sit, to be completely honest. I think we can win this game without him. But when we look at the other weapons, it becomes very thin. It's guys like Jahan Dotson that we're relying on as the wide receiver 1, which I love Jahan Watson. But am I really going to trust him this early in his career as a wide receiver 1? I'm not so sure. Curtis Samuel fell off the board completely at the end of last year. This is not a team that has Patrick Mahomes on it and a bunch of weapons around it. I think Eric Bieniemy is a good offensive coordinator. I think he's going to realize that the path to winning this game is to control the clock, to run the ball down your throat. Because guess what? They're not going to be able to stop you, right? This truly is the worst defensive unit in the league, especially on the defensive line right here. Washington is a 7-point favorite. They're likely going to be playing with that positive game script. But guess what? Washington had the 3rd highest neutral game script rush rate in the league last year, which means even when they were playing those close games, they were fully committed to the run. I think that probably decreases a little bit over the course of the season, but I think it's pretty clear Robinson and Gibson are 2 of your best weapons, especially if McLaurin is out this game. I think Howell having that rushing ability is always good to open up those running lanes, which they've never really had in DC. We haven't had a mobile quarterback in years, right? With rest in peace, Robert Griffin III, he's now commentator. That was our last guy, right? But if you look at all these rushing quarterbacks, it's clear they do open up those rush lanes for your guys. I have Robinson projected for about 16 carries in this one. If he gets anywhere close to that, he should absolutely smash this number.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I know. And the only thing I mentioned this pre-show when we were talking about this, the only thing I like, kind of competing with this is Antonio Gibson. But I think that they're going to have enough plays to feed both mouths there, right? They're going to be able to get that done because you don't really have any receivers outside of Dotson that you're really trying to feature, right? So, I mean, this could be a game where it's like done in literally 2 hours. Like that game could be done in 2 hours with them just running the ball every single time. Dump offs to Gibson. Hopefully he has 12 catches, 125 and 2 touchdowns on those dump offs. Because obviously he's my boy and he's in like 90% of my best balls because I love him and he was going way too late. But dude is so good. Obviously, I hope he gets into that McKinnon role like he was there before. Really do like that spot for Brian Robinson. Perfect game script for Mr. Robinson. And we will get to mine here. Plus money spot. I'm doing these buy downs. I love these spots. I love grabbing these, especially early on in the season where, these lines are going to be damn sharp. There's probably people betting how many bets are going on NFL week 1. Probably more than, it's probably competing with the Super Bowl for how many bets are coming out there. So I want to buy it down. I want to be in a spot where I feel a little bit more comfortable. Chris Olave, 50 yards. Obviously, you're in a pass funnel defense there in the Titans. Phenomenal run defense. Always been good, under variable. And Olave, far and away, number 1. I know everybody likes Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas will be fine, but I think he's going to be in that more underneath route. Olave can get this on one play, bro. Like, that's what he's good at. He's phenomenal at it. And Derek Carr will feature his number 1, just like he did with Devontae Adams. Obviously, I'm really excited to see this combo with these two together. And obviously, you get pretty sure this is a dome game as well for Derek Carr starting off in that dome there. So obviously, love that. Jordan Love, 200 passing yards, baby. This is the one that's got to carry the torch a little bit more on that plus money spot. But minus 175 for Jordan Love to get 200. Huge divisional game. First game of the season. I think the Packers did a phenomenal job of getting him weapons that are able to do the stuff after the catch, right? You got Christian Watson, who's phenomenal after the catch, good in 50-50 balls. I love Romeo Doubs across the middle. I think he's going to be fantastic. Musgrave, I think he'll be more further down the year, but I think he'll be just fine if he does get thrown into stuff this week. I think he'll do good there. And then obviously, why am I blanking on this dude's name? I have him in like every single best ball. Why am I blanking on his name? Why am I blanking on
Reed?
There, yeah. I should not be blanking on a Packers name, especially when he's probably the most bet Packer I've ever seen of anybody. So obviously, I think Reed is going to be great as well. Dude was so good at Michigan State, so good. So I think we had the opportunity there. Obviously, I love Aaron Jones out of the backfield. I think they're going to try to get him into space on those dump offs. He looked good in preseason. I don't really take too much from that, but 200 yards in a game where I think the Bears are going to stop the run. That is going to be the number 1 goal of this defense. Make Jordan Love beat us, and I think he shows enough, even if they don't win, to get us to that 200 yards. Olave, sign me up, baby. I love him. Obviously, he was on our future show quite a bit from the boy.
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest concern, plus money, Bob mentioned it, Watson not practicing. I know Dobbs didn't practice yesterday. If he didn't mention him, then hopefully that means he practiced today. That we're seeing that a lot randomly. I'm hoping that this is just a fluke. It's not a big deal, but I think that definitely could kind of alter it a little bit here. But I like what you said about game script. I mean, you look at it, the Bears were a pass funnel last year most of the time anyway, and now it's going to be very clear, right? You stop A.J. Dillon, you stop Aaron Jones. That's going to be the goal. What did they invest in the offseason additionally? The linebacker core, right? When you think of big money, you're normally thinking cornerbacks, D-line. Nope, they spent big money on linebackers, which is a pretty questionable decision, right? But that's another. Tremont Edmonds is someone you're going to bring in to help stop the run additionally right there. So Jordan Love's going to have all the opportunity in the world for this one. And I think, to be honest, the fact that you're getting Jordan Love at 200 passing yards for 113 is a great spot. Because for me, Olave, 50 yards, I'm locking that in. I absolutely love that spot. I mean, we don't even talk about it that much, but I do have some numbers right here because I was working on an Olave write-up before even the numbers came out. Titans secondary allowed the most receiving yards last season. Chris Olave led all wide receivers in air yards per route run with 4. That's against everyone, not rookies, not young guys. This is against every single wide receiver in the league. And Tennessee allowed the most touchdown passes of 20 yards or more. They allowed 12 touchdowns of 20 yards or more last season. I like Olave touchdown. Already got that locked in. I think Olave has a great game. So to get Love at 200 yards for 113, I think that's good value.
Awesome. I'm happy that we're in agreement. We're in lockstep finding these spots together there. Again, guys, while we hit this finish up, if you could hit that like button, we appreciate you guys. Again, 42 of you guys in here. We're at 15 likes on the show. Keep that thing going. Obviously, doing this 3 times a week throughout the NFL season. We got a kid named Coop here. Agreed. Mono. I think B-Rob also gets in the touchdown as well. I mean, I think both of them score. I think Gibson and Robinson score, dude. I think that it's going to be pretty much the backs putting in that work. Dude, just give me this. I want to hear this from a Washington perspective. Sam Howell is the third highest owned projected fantasy player in DFS this week. He's the same price as Baker Mayfield, bro. 4,900. Make this make sense, dude. I don't even think he's going to throw 20 times.
Yeah, I'm not going to be part of that. Maybe a little bit. I like my Commanders. I'm a biased fan, so I'll maybe get a little bit. But just from a pure, ownership standpoint, I know he's cheap, and I know that's the appeal right there. But like you said, I think a lot of this is going to be on the ground from their both backs. I don't think they've proven that Bieniemy is going to come in. I think the real deal right here is Terry. I think Terry has a big mark on that because last year we noticed they love to get Terry on those screens, those little short intermediate passes to get him involved early and often. I think if he's fully healthy, then it becomes a little bit more appealing. But personally, I'm with you. I'm going Gibson and I'm going Robinson as my Washington exposure and their defense, by the way. Play Washington defense week 1. Washington bringing back everyone. They're bringing the band back together. Obviously, last year they started out as a terrible secondary, but over the course of the season, they improved. Now you add a first-round pick and a second-round pick to the secondary. You get Chase Young back, who only played that last game. I don't know. They're going to probably demolish Joshua Dobbs. So for me, DFS is Washington defense, Robinson, and Gibson. I'm completely with you. I'll pass on the Howell right there.
Projected 60% owned Washington Commanders defense at 2,800.
Okay. I'll do it. I don't care.
But I see Plus Money Bob bringing up the Kelsey question here. I did see that they just brought up another tight end off the practice squad. Yep. The Chiefs did. So assuming that is not good news, in this spot, personally, I like Gibson personally, just with that PPR option. I think he's going to get enough ones there. But do you think with Kelsey being out, we get a little bit more boost to McKinnon? Do you think they run a little bit more of those routes? As a guy that's been in that system for a while.
I love McKinnon. He's, I think, my second most owned running back in best ball this year. I love him, but the problem is he's an efficiency-based back. You're not getting the volume. And he was so efficient in the red zone. He pretty much scored every week to end the season last year through the playoffs, right? And that was not on high volume. That was on very limited volume. So for me, picking a guy like McKinnon over these other guys is a little bit harder. I see the path upside, but he's probably capped at 5 carries. I don't think he passes 5 carries. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is likely to outcarry him, and he's barely relevant to this team. So you're really depending on him to do a lot with 4 to 5 catches, which is something that kind of scares me considering he's only running routes out of the backfield, not the slot. Gibson, he could possibly give you those slot routes. We're seeing a little bit more hype for that. The thing is, I think you got to play Dotson if Terry's out. He's the wide receiver 1. I know it's still rough, but I love Gibson to score this week as well. This is a tough choice, but I think Dotson, if Terry's out, is probably the move. Gibson.
That's the tough part, though. That's tough. McKinnon playing tonight. We got to make that decision right now. We'll just say Terry is in. So let's just say Terry is playing. I know it's 50-50. Probably a little bit more towards the not playing. If Terry was playing, who would be your pick out of these 3?
Yeah, the way I'm doing it, I'm just cutting out McKinnon. I like it, but I'm cutting it out, and then I'd wait to make the choice between these 2 guys based on the Terry news. I know that's a cop-out answer, but you actually can do that in the situation, right? I just say I'm committed to one of these 2 Washington guys. And if Terry does play, I'm going Gibson. I'm just spoiler. I'm going to bet Gibson's touchdown at some point this week. I think there's really good value there. I don't know. I think it's funny. Gibson and McKinnon, like we're just expecting Gibson to take the McKinnon role on this new offense, which is a very interesting comparison.
Beautiful. And I know you're not going to want to see this, too. I see our guy here is bringing up a baseball question quick. Get this in quick. Thank you, guys. I need a game before the football game. Dude, if you've watched the show, I will never fade my boy Luis Castillo. So it's going the other way, dude. I know I don't want to fade against the Dodgers. You're facing I think it's the Dodgers and Luis Castillo are your fates. So not a great spot if you're taking dogs. So I don't know if I would take either one. I don't know, dude. It's maybe just the Rays because I think they're better, but I'm not fading those 2 teams. Like those are the 2 teams I don't want to fade tonight, right? Or the Braves, right? You're better off just taking a chalk parlay tonight with all that stuff because my God, I can't fade Luis Castillo, dude. He's my boy. Can't fade him. So, Stu, quick recap. We'll go through all of our stuff, and then we'll get on our way here. We still got 30 of you guys lasting. It's been an hour since we've been here. I told you guys these shows go a little bit longer. Obviously, it will probably be about 3/4 of this length on a Friday normally. But again, we're combining our Wednesday show and our Friday show just to make sure we get these out for you guys. Obviously, we have a game tonight as well. So let's get to our props for tonight.
Sounds good. Starting out with Patrick Mahomes over 38.5 longest completion. That is -110 over on BetMGM.
And let's go to touchdown.
And then I'm going David Montgomery. And obviously you went with Sky Moore +516 over on FanDuel for our DGen touchdown parlay. Week 1, it's back, baby.
I'll be rolling with Patrick Mahomes, 250 passing yards, and going along with Amon-Ra, 60 receiving yards. Make sure you hit the SGP button, right? Don't just try to do the alternate. They ain't going to give you these options. Make sure you hit that button, then play it there. You can get you a nice 105 option there. And then we'll go to Sunday for our props here.
Yep, I went with Brian Robinson over 57.5 rush yards, -115. That's over once again on BetMGM, but also Draftkings as well.
Beautiful. And I will be rolling with my combo spot here. Chris Olave, 50 yards receiving to go along with Jordan Love, 200 passing yards. Again, I'm on DraftKings for this one. And to finish it off, dog picks. I'm on the Steelers this week. I have San Francisco's defense in 2 fantasy leagues, so hopefully it's 3-0. 12 sacks, a couple pick sixes, get tackled at the 1, turnovers at the 1. Hopefully it's one of those types of games. But I'm going to be rolling with the Steelers +105, and you will be rolling Raiders, huh?
Yep, and just to be clear, I like the Raiders on the spread a little bit more than the money line. That 3.5 is such a big deal with the Broncos right there. But yeah, you got to get a little crazy. It's week 1. We're all remember week 1, and everyone picked every favorite, and then everyone was at a survivor. Some crazy shit's gonna happen, and I'm super pumped for it.
Beautiful. All right, let's go through it, guys. We got through our full entire recap. Stu, what do you got for the people here? We got 3 minutes before we hit that hour mark. What do you got for the people before we head out?
Yeah, while we're talking, drop any last-minute questions if you have them. Obviously, if you're not here for the live show, drop them in the comments, baby. We're here 24/7 to answer your questions. But I actually do have stuff to promote this time. It's football season. I'll be on the airways every single day. So if you want to hear me talking football, make sure you're following me over on Twitter. Just before this, I did a stream with Sportstopia. I'll be live with them on Tuesdays and Thursdays every week. On Thursday, we'll be building showdown lineups. I think we actually got some pretty good ones. And I'll pretty much be talking about every single player on the slate because there's only so many. So if you think we missed someone today, you want to hear my thoughts on, some of these other guys, check out that stream as well. And I want to give a big shout out to you guys. I posted my Josh Reynolds prop last night. I was sick as hell. I was feeling terrible. I was like, I wrote way too much here. This is crazy. And I wake up this morning and it has 150,000 views, 350 likes. I don't know where the hell any of this came from, but it's clear you guys are fired up for football to be back. So I got to chug the DayQuil. I got to, pop some Red Bulls and get my shit together because I appreciate the love and I'm going to keep on killing it. So shout out to you guys. Super pumped to be back on Past the Prop. I was hoping, I'd be all professional, have a haircut, be looking good. Instead, I'm sick as hell, looking a little bit rough over here, dark as hell, no lighting. But that's the way Past the Prop is. At the end of the day, you guys are here for the plays. You're not here to, have models give you guys script written. I don't know. You know what I mean? You just talk now, please.
Hey, I know what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. We'll slide that to the side for maybe next week's show where you want to get into that. But yeah, no, obviously we appreciate all you guys' support and having 40 plus of you guys in here on an impromptu Thursday. We don't even go live on Thursday. You guys still found your way over here and showed us love. So we appreciate that. Obviously, I'm going to try and get an NFL article out here shortly. Obviously, trying to post some more YouTube stuff, have an MLB play out. I know there is MLB today. It's a shitty slate, but Adam Wainwright against the Braves. You got to bet on that, baby. So I'll be on that as well. So we'll have some articles coming out here shortly. Maybe me and Stu might be talking about that DFS contest from last year, bringing that back. I know I've gotten quite a few DMs regarding bringing back our Past the Prop Listener League fantasy spot. So maybe we do that as well. Maybe we do like a $5 entry this year so you guys can actually get some money out of it on the site there. So we'll talk. We'll figure something out. And obviously, again, let me reiterate this. It's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show. This week is just weird, right? Kelsey doing this to us, your flights, this wedding. We're all over the place. So it will be normally Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we'll be back with you guys starting on Monday for some more action there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys coming at you for a full hour on today's slate. So hit that like button on your way out, and we will see you on Monday for another round of Pass the Prop.